And I thought, I'm going to have to get back to the office. We're going to say, oh, how was it? Why are you back so early? I thought, I'm just going to own it. Oh, well, it was a week early. I'll be going there next week. And they all kind of laughed, and, I felt like, oh, it's silly. But in certain situations, if you're feeling a bit like shame, the best way to get over that shame factor is to talk it out and is to own it. Then it doesn't possess you.
Everybody, I'm chatting to Michelle Carr, creative director at Habit Action. But you've had tons of tours. You've been everywhere.
Not too far, but I've been to a few of the big players in the design and build world. I'm kind of embarking on almost my third decade in design and build.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I still love it.
Amazing. But what I loved about Michelle's story is now she's creative director at Habit Action. She's actually kind of shaped the brand of the company where she's at. It's a more of a boutique brand. And if that's said.
Yeah, I think it's when people-led.
People-led brand, yeah. And she's really shaped that, and in her personality, and she's got a massive passion for people and bring the best out in her team, and also how then the workspaces bring out the best in their team. I get that real vibe from you, and I love it. And obviously I'm saying hymn sheet stuff, so I definitely wanted her on the show. So, and now she's here, so welcome, Michelle. Thank you.
Lovely speaking.
And this is the coolest mind map I've ever seen.
I wouldn't go that far.
Sorry, it's just wicked.
Yeah.
Freezing. Is that just generally how you plan for anything?
Yeah, it's just how I think. If you give me a spreadsheet, I wouldn't know what to do. Or give me a list. So I often take a list, even from being a junior designer, I'd take a list of whatever the brief was, and basically mind map it out. Because that kind of sticks in my head better. I can, that connection with your hand and writing and the brain, it really helps to get the flow. And things stick in your head a bit better. And then it translates really well from that into block planning, space planning. But I can really think creatively because I'm not governed by lines. I don't even like a notepad with lines. I prefer a notepad with blank pages because then I've got no boundaries.
If anyone can't see this because they're not looking, it is the mind map of mind maps. Are big circles. Some bits are highlighted in yellow. I guess that's the more important bits. There's some square borders, some round borders, some no borders, some wiggly arrows, some straightish arrow, and it literally looks like you Google mind map picture image on Google. It's the perfect one.
Took me 10 minutes before I set off.
No, it's really cool. So Michelle, you're at Habit Action, but way back or whatever, you started off. What is an early memory of a project that's really kind of shaped you pivotally into what you're and who you are?
Gosh, it's been so many. You think about it.
I bet, yeah. First one, early one.
An early one. I mean, if you think of, I suppose, an early memory, for me, if I go back even before work, it was all about tracing paper. I kind of crafted a love for tracing paper. My dad came home from work one day and was like, "Oh, Shell, look at this." And I was mesmerized by the fact that you could kind of draw something and then draw something else, and then it would evolve, probably a bit like a mind map. Yeah. And, from then, really, when I was at school, my love of design came from, the generic kind of design process. Not such but it's kind of like the standard. So when you're at school, you're learning about, say, in what was called CDT back then, design technology. It was all about the design and the why. Who is it for? Who, the why, the what, the where, and the when, and then how you're going to do it. And that love for that preparation, for that research, for that real kind of connection back to the why started really, really early on. And even, I suppose with my mind maps, whenever I'm starting a concept or a project or a presentation, or it begins its life as a mind map, looking at what are we going to do, why I'm going to do it, how are we going to do it, what is it going to be, all of those primary kind of things that you really need to be thinking about. So the love of design, I knew I didn't want to be working admin or, be a PA for somebody or even a policewoman. I I just knew I just wanted to draw and create and craft. So I was, really lucky to be able to live my dream. Got picked up at the New Designers exhibition many moons ago in London, and I've been in London ever since. I think from an early memory. I mean, I started off in the regions as a concept designer, and I sat in the corner of the studio, basically just drawing. Back before you were doing everything in 3D, everything was hand drawn and
Quite sketchy.
yeah, sketching.
At workplaces.
At workplaces, and it all started with a mind map, and then it grew and it grew to concepts, and so.
So did you draw each space that you were going to kind of build?
Yeah, and then created in, drawed in 3D, and you get some clever guys who are still in the industry now, who did the 3D Max and visualization, but it obviously has to start from the brain and the hand, and the kind of the concept thought. So as an early memory, I kind of transitioned probably from that studio up in Luton into working with Morgan Lovell. I was with Morgan Lovell for, I was there a couple of times. But say first time about 3 years, the next time about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And I did a long stint. I left to go to Morris for a bit, and that was fabulous.
It hasn't been tomorrow.
I don't know. Yeah, and do you know what? It is a fantastic place to work. If you want to put in and you want to grow, and the energy and the actual, I can't really describe it. It's a place where you can go and learn your trade and grow and master it. I think it takes a certain level of stamina to go at that pace for the duration. But I think the energy, the team, the buzz, the work hard, play hard culture, it's not for everybody, but it works. And sometimes it lines with your life, and then other times it doesn't. And when things don't line with your life, you kind of go and find something new, and then you go and you find your tribe and your people and what you are about then. So I think anybody in design, particularly in design, should go and work at Morris for a bit. Because it's definitely a place where you go.
It's interesting. She gets so many stories about Morris and every which way. So
yeah, I don't think
it's really cool to hear that. And yeah,
I think you got to challenge yourself, and in challenging yourself, you grow.
Yeah.
And without that, what's the point really? But I think when I suppose going back to that question, if an early memory, I would probably say it's a mid-memory, let's say, but it was really an early or the first project that really started my thought process and connection with how people feel and the impact of design.
At Morris, you mean?
At Morgan Lovell.
At Morgan Lovell, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, because, back, see, when I first started, and, the office design and commercial office design was very different. It was all about a list. You go and see a client, you go and see the space, you craft a list from the brief of what it is, their requirements, whether it was 150 desks, storage, post, reception, whatever, meeting room suites, maybe training rooms. And it was all very, about that list that you collected. And you didn't really find, it wasn't about more than that, I don't think. Yes, you crafted a design, you crafted a concept, you definitely answered the brief. It was definitely about the form and the function. But I don't necessarily think, like until, probably the last 10, 15 years, really, it's been more about the people and the brand and the culture and the essence. And maybe some practices, have always been doing it like that. But I could say, from my point of view and my experience within D&B, particularly the time, 15 years ago when I was working at Morgan Lovell with Monique Park, And Monica Parker is director and owner of Hatch Analytics, and she's an author, published author as well. And she was the workplace strategy lead there. And, she was all about the psychological. She was all about people and how they feel. And, that really woke me up. Her kind of mission was always about, understanding the narrative of the workplace and understanding why one would do these things. And for me, that kind of woke me up a bit and thought, wow, it isn't just about, answering the brief, challenging it, making it aesthetically pleasing, and bringing the brand in, absolutely. But it's about the people and what they want out of it, how they feel, and really digging into that and kind of bringing the essence of that along with the essence of the brand as well.
Yeah.
So
that was a project. That was one of your early memories of project with Monica for Hatch.
Yeah. So that was it's for Morgan Lovell. Yeah. So it was for Morgan Lovell, and we designed the head office for Lovell Health down in Epsom.
Okay.
And
I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a neat. Okay. And that was an amazing project to be involved in, and particularly working from the conceptual side, translating the workplace strategy into a design concept, and then taking it forward from that design concept into the actual, space plans and details, working with the clients. There were amazing clients, that team there, really interactive with the HR department and connected with the people and looking at the brand essence. But the mission of that project was creating a narrative workplace. So by doing that, it was all about, telling the story of Lovell Health. And we did some amazing things, What did we do? Oh gosh, we did loads of fun stuff, but it wasn't just for the sake of it, because this was like the Google era as well, when it's fly everywhere.
When was it?
Oh gosh, I bet it was in 2000 and 2010, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe more. Yeah.
So quite forward thinking.
Yeah. Maybe it was maybe a bit earlier. The years blend in. Yeah. But that's all that narrative workplace, that really had to have the essence of Lovell Health and really harness the well-being factors of obviously all the good things that Lovell kind of offer in terms of their gyms, but food kind of offering for the staff. It was all, about the work settings, how that has a positive impact on their staff. And, they, as part of that journey, we really, through what Monica did, she captured the data. And then we then translated that data and that essence of the brand in quite quirky ways, really. So, for example, in the boardrooms and areas, we worked with acrylic eyes actually, and crafted these bound books, which actually represented, they were like architectural models of their history of hospitals. So, so there was line drawings of these. There was some books in the shape. Some of the spines were just named some of the hospitals, and so on. But we crafted kind of bespoke wallpapers for to capture timelines and things. But it was all about the people and how that space could benefit them. They were touch and dance spaces and kind of softer working environments, and then. You was about a desk, but then you had your other meeting rooms and things, you standing up, your collaboration and so on. But at the end of the project, you're talking about people and team and how to make a difference. And, through a 22-week project on site, and, let's say the 22 weeks with that client even before then, as part of the handover experience, I got my mum to make a cake. So my mum made a cake.
What did she do with a cake of?
She did a cake of a doctor's bag. And so she made a doctor's bag, and the stethoscopes were all kind of coming out of it. But, there's some of the design elements, like the manifestation that were crafted, and, she piped kind of on the sides. And so it was really, it captured the design essence of what we were trying to do, or what we created. And the guy was like, wow, what? You didn't have everybody. I was like, no, it just felt like it was appropriate. That's such a good journey. And, it's about creating that memorable experience, And, you still think about it. I think 15 years ago, I'm still talking about that. But yeah, I think that was quite pivotal in my career, kind of taking it from your standard old school design process, design offering, and from a design build point of view. So, you've got your list of requirements, you've got your design, you might splash a bit of brand colours, and then, the build. But that was the turning point for me, where I really connected to the people, connected to the brand, to the why, and really started thinking about all of those elements.
Yeah, you've touched on Monica got together data and then gave that to you. What sort of data was she collecting?
So occupancy, so she kind of captured from their existing space, how they were utilising their current space, because they were downsizing quite a lot in terms of headcount, and kind of that switched before it was going hybrid. They were just starting to kind of do that. And kind of use that information from that, that heat maps, and it's kind of old school actually, in terms of going round with the clipboards, who's in that meeting room, only one person, why is only one person in there? It's seats in it, and really studying that. It was a huge kind of culling process on the storage, and because paper was pretty heavy then. So there's all of that scanning and process to go through, and shredding.
And made it more digital.
But to make it more digital, to bring it into that, to reduce the footprint, really. So yeah, I think that was an early memory in my career, for to break it down into thirds there.
Yeah.
Of how that really start to wake me up to who I am, what I believe in, and what we should do. Because as part of that, we went back in and did a pulse survey to find out how the space was being occupied, how people were happy, and if they were happy, if they needed to change anything. And I think their satisfaction score went up considerably high. The occupancy level rose up. I can't remember the exact stats, it was 30-odd, 40%. But it was a huge positive impact. I mean, things have changed now. I think they're kind of reduced, because there were about 4 floors then. So they've reduced that, but, things change, and, COVID changed a lot of things for everybody.
Yeah, it's changed all again. Yeah, so to actually mentioning that. So what are you working on now? Or what current themes are you on, and how are they different to that?
Again, I mean, I touch a lot of projects. Obviously working with my team, and working. So I've obviously some of my projects, and I touch my team's projects as well, from a kind of more zoomed out approach, obviously. But I lead the workplace discovery sessions, where it's kind of a real. I describe it as a real gentle brief discovery, where
Collecting a brief.
So we're collecting the brief, but we do it in the Minecraft scenario. Sometimes they turn into a checklist, but from these discovery sessions, we'll go in and we'll look at really understanding the culture of the business, what works, what doesn't, show different images to extract what they like and what they don't like, and what challenges is happening now. I mean, some of these images might be, stock images of, I don't know, lion a lion roaring, or a time, a clock, or somebody swimming underwater, or, just to kind of get to the point of understanding what challenges and how that company ticks. What are their successful points?
Yeah. So what were these images? That's that on the wall?
So we'll kind of look at them as being our, in our discovery session, as, don't describe it, their company through images.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So we kind of really get to the core so we'll do it in words, we'll do it in images, we'll understand, really try and extract softly the essence of what is working now, where they want to be, what isn't, what is, what's really good. And it just really immerses you as a designer and as a person to really listen and understand something before you put pen to paper. I think. No, it's all right. I was just gonna say, like, all of this kind of discovery thing, and you talk about even self-discovery, and you look at your own values and what makes you tick, and what, in terms of the design process and how, I particularly look at things, but through our process and how I kind of move things forward, it's really kind of cultivate this thing called my 4 Fs. And it starts with the discovery. It's all about how people feel. You're finding out, so you're finding how people feel. The feelings are the second component. So findings and feelings, and then you're creating the form, and then then that kind of comes out, that is the function. So it's it's a real cycle of a design, or my design ethos of connecting the people. You're finding out how they feel, and before you then craft the kind of the design, the concept, which is obviously the form and the function. But the form has to work, and it has to work for the people. It has to work functionally in the building, and additionally, you need to link those back to their brief. Some of their core values might be from a sustainability point of view, for example, and it might be that circularity is really important. It might be that, they want the essence of what they do to be entwined right through the scheme, which is something that I believe strongly in, because, you don't, years ago, have it, your brand was just your brand colours, and you'd walk in and it was whatever colour your brand was, and it was plastered all over the columns and the walls. And, for me, it's got to be, brand is so much more than that.
It's more abstract now, isn't it? It's more a feeling, more
the intangible bits.
Yeah, it does the fragrance and how does that make you feel? Does that what the brand wants you to feel? So yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
But that's an amazing self-discovery. When did you do that? That whole 4F thing. That's really deep and really mindful and really, you're really self-aware, aren't you?
I have become that, yes.
Yeah. When did you do that?
Probably, as an essence, I've been doing it and formulating it the last, say, 15 years or so. But identify it and drawing it out myself, I would say the last couple of years or so. Where I've kind of identified it. Like one of those things, my brain never switches off. And I woke up one morning early and that's this. It's like a eureka moment.
Seriously, what about you? I
was like, right, okay, but I've got my feelings, and it's about form, and it's about function. But what's the other F? It's findings. But I think it's just important to find your anchor points. And, those kind of anchor points, then, I've been doing some work with a coach, and Bob's amazing. And he's really helped me to understand myself more and have confidence in myself. And, it does waver, don't get me wrong. One more sets in, and you kind of challenge yourself. But I think, establishing my values, I think, was a really key thing. and what I stand for. And I established those probably before I'd then just come up with my 4Fs. But as far as my values are concerned, really, just was really important for me to find joy in what I do on every day. Things that I touch, even if it's, complimenting some stranger on the tube, like, wow, that's an amazing water bottle, and they're like, oh wow, thanks very much, and it's that connection. It's just so nice to be nice.
Totally.
And it just
in the south. Wait, when you're saying about the wall bottle thing and you're so northern, no one does that in northern. Everyone just looks so grumpy. It's just like I'm totally with you though. Totally with you though.
When I first moved down, when I was 21, people they used to move away from me on the tube because they thought I was a weirdo, I think. Because, well, get on and go, morning, like I was getting on a bus. Because I get on a bus as long. So, and I would think, why are they falling away from me? I'm just being nice.
Culture shock.
Yeah.
A whole couple of hours. But back to the project. What is a project that you are working on? Can you tell us on that?
I'm working on lots of projects.
If there's no, you can just say no.
Okay. Well, there's so many. I mean, we've recently finished a project, probably a recent project or a current project. I've got lots on the drawing board. Mm-hmm. If we're thinking of something that's about to something that's just finished about a year ago or so, finished a job at Atlas Copco in Hill Hampstead. The
maps. Makes sense.
Compressors, it's really boring. But if you go skiing, you need a compressor at the top of that mountain because it's generating the snow. But that was a really unique project where we did a lot of strategy. We did the workshop discovery, that client engagement piece. The understanding the why and establishing the why of the project, and sustainability and well-being were really key. Even more so than the brand, than the brand colours and palette and all of that stuff, which is great because just before we were finishing the job, they rebranded globally. So it was amazing that we centered the design kind of aesthetic around the well-being and the people's desires and the overall essence, rather than what was their old corporate.
You see, sorry, I thought you were going to say they rebranded and you have to redesign it.
No, but yes. So for me, it's really important that it's designed around, any project is designed around an essence, not just about the red, the white and the blue or whatever the corporate colours may be. Obviously there's an element of that brand awareness and those colour tones, but I don't think that a space should be dominated. We're not in the 90s anymore, when they were the years where things were dominated by your bright colours and your lime green columns and whatever else was going on. But that is a project. This is a very similar story to the Nuffield Health, where it was about their people, their story, their well-being, and we went back and looked at how the space has been occupied, and their occupancy level has gone up over 36% because they've got the appropriate facilities. They've got a lovely gym. They've got a lovely kind of breakout canteen space that's subsidised, and we've got lots of kind of open spaces, that connection to the natural light. You can go outside on the top floor from the first floor, where we took an atrium to build two atriums, and we basically increased the size of the warehouse by lifting the atrium up to increase the size of the workshop space. But then that allowed the people on the first floor to get out directly from their workspace into a new outside terrace space. So that was really cool. And, we used a lot of kind of new technologies to us on that project. We used a construction material called CLT, cross-laminated timber.
No idea what that is.
It looks like this, but it's pine. But it's a
Or is it structural timber?
It's structural timber. So it's a time on program. It gives you beautiful design aesthetic. It brought that Scandi feeling. Worked. One of the things for this job, actually, I've worked with some really lovely internal designers because it was such a long job, and we all kind of played our part in it. But also, what I did was connected with some other designers in my network. So there's an amazing lady called Barbara Kiss. I used to work with her at Morgan Lovell. She's amazing. So I worked with her on that, developing that concept and the overall design aesthetic, which was amazing and great that we kind of paired up doing that, because I got COVID and it was quite a challenging time. And another ex-colleague of mine, Elaine Mitchell, I worked with at Morgan Lovell again years and years ago, and she since works with us a lot more now, and she kind of got that job, from a detailed point of view through its site. So, what I'm finding is, your network becomes key as you go, and, you find your people and you find your tribe.
Whether internal and external, it's phenomenal. Like, you obviously have your internal team, which is like a super close tribe, and then you, like, the village around you is just, wow, like, opens doors.
It does. Yeah, and I think before, even like knowledge sharing, back in the day, it was all very competitive. Okay, it still is competitive, but it was all very much closed doors back in the day. Where now, companies share things, you wider conversations. There's so much freedom and knowledge. And I think since COVID, actually people want to share, they want to talk. You've got the Sustainable Design Collective, who, SDC, they're thinking about 3 years in, but they're all about knowledge sharing. They had Kate Sargent there from HOK earlier on in the year. She was launching a book there, and but these people like Govinda Khurana, I worked with her in my first job, and she's there, and she's one of the she works at one of the design directors at Mordus. All of these people, you've had early connections with. And we're still on the journey, and we like to share. And speaking about journeys, people and relationships, I suppose. So in COVID, we won a job with a technology firm called Viva Systems, and they're amazing company, very global. Global company. We did their office down in Oxford. And since then, we work really closely with their global workplace, like FM. And we've really struck up a really wonderful working relationship. We get him. We get what they want. We know the essence of the company. We know how they tick. And so since then, we've designed their Budapest office. We've just finished their Paris office, and we're just on the drawing board now and about to go to site. We've done their new London HQ, which is really exciting because that's in like one of the more sustainable buildings in London. And we've designed we're about to go to site. Just waiting on all of the leases to be signed. But it's going to be lovely. It's in the old Woolworths building, just off my Runnerport. But this client, he's kind of eccentric Spanish guy, and he's just lovely. But he's so knowledgeable, and he'll challenge. And, every design we do, it's always better than the next. It's all, the next job is, there's always elements of, what that was, of, the last job or who they are and what they need. But the next offering just is elevated further and then it goes up and up. And they really do like working with us from a relationship and a design and build point of view, because, there's no labouring, I think they find across the globe, obviously some, in America, they prefer to probably go more traditional in their approach with architectural and then consultants and, but obviously the program gets stretched out and, that the clarity, I think, from their find potentially is, it's not quite as quick and quick and easy, but different countries do it differently. I suppose where I'm going with this is, that relationship is key, and understanding how people feel and, always elevating the offering. But it's capturing those local flavours as well is quite fun, because the Budapest office was very different to the Paris office, which was in the Oxford, and different to the US office.
Do you actually keep the offices the same because it's the same brand, so it needs to kind of flow through it consistently for brand consistency? Or do you just totally embrace each local culture?
I think you've got to embrace the local culture. Mm-hmm. I think there's components of how, the company works and how their different teams work. They've got, specific kind of guidelines on terms of, the size of desk and how the closed rooms or offices, which are more like pods, but they because they do so much kind of calls on Teams, they like a training, an IT training type company. So they've got a little bit of open plan, but then lots and lots of small offices. So that the essence of that doesn't really change, because those are the components that they need as a business. But the overall the overall design essence of, say, Viva Systems is communicated, and that's consistent. But I wouldn't say any design looks the same. There's always something different. There's always, I think, flow and connection are very important to the client, which I'm fully in line with, because you want spaces to flow, and you want that visitor experience to be exciting and to touch the right points and to be memorable. Mm-hmm. And it's about kind of crafting those touch points in so they create it.
Yeah, it's experience, isn't it? And it's also reducing friction transitioning between spaces. Yeah. I love what you're saying. It's amazing. I do want to ask you as well, though, about a future project. Just a wild, if you could do anything, work for any brand, anywhere, anyhow, anywhen, what would you do?
Oh, that is a big question.
The most out there thing.
Could do anything, work anywhere. Oh gosh. This is going to sound really proper sad.
Oh, cool.
I'm doing my dream job of, crafting visions that align with people's, that really help translate that culture, that brand essence, that I can't think. I'm just to have a dream of thoughts.
I asked you about the wildest dream, anywhere, anything, and you said kind of you are already living your dream, and the way that you're taking people's emotions, how they think and how they feel and how they behave, and actually impacting that in a positive way, which is basically your dream. And you said it sounded a bit sad, and I was just have to say that's not sad. I'm so happy that you're doing and living your dream.
No, I kind of am. I think I get complete joy from delivering a successful vision, and I loved when we get the challenge back. from clients and from internal, and to get that successful project. It is about the relationships that you build along the way for me. And, I suppose I would like to have and continue really to have a more positive impact, more even regionally and northernly, because the more, spaces you go to that are in the regions that are, really successful businesses, and, and it's about production and distribution, they still have office space, and that office space is substandard. And these poor people are coming to work, and, and some of them have worked for these companies for 15, 20 years, and they don't actually know what good looks like, what they should be coming to work.
And not revolution.
It's true. They get, you get about your white collar workers and your blue collar workers, all of the white collar workers, we in London, you go into Manchester, you go to Leeds, everybody's got really nice offices. And some of the lucky, kind of larger manufacturing and distribution companies, yeah, they have them too. But I'd like to see more of them. So, it's that education and that, the art of the possible, but to bring in, our thought process of, really understanding, really kind of discovering what them as a business need, who the business is, what they do, what their essence is, what their people want, but what they also need, and then balancing that with the business. But then in terms of the design, the design can't just be designed for design's sake. That's what I could say that's what you did years ago. You had to design in my design originally. Yeah, I'm going to have the grass on an angle because that's going to look really cool. It isn't just, it's so much more than that, and it probably was then, but as a junior designer, back then you're just thinking, oh, just cool, gosh, you could do that, that would be amazing.
But now
it's evolved, you're more aware, it's an amazing thing that I think to have a wider and more positive impact, wider than just here.
Could you repeat that? I do agree with you, actually.
Yeah.
I'm really with you on that. It's very like London and, they've got the money and the streets are paved with gold. It's a load of bullshit. But but it is true, isn't it? It's like my mindset, isn't it? Whereas if you went to I don't know, Norfolk or something, I don't know why I said that. It's really, really nice, but it's something really terrible geography, so I don't even know where it is. But are their offices to stand up, bring out the best in people? How actually change that? I wonder.
I don't know. It's a small, it needs to be a large, wide revolution. But I think we own it, and we just need to do more of it. And I think it's out understanding people in these situations to know that they can have better. But it's a day job. Even from a manufacturing industry point of view, when you've got the factory and the clocking in, the clocking out, they're producing something. And they're just doing that, and it's a broader, wider business, and there's other things that get that get sucked up. They might have machines that need to be invested in, and that's quite a common story. Where we've been brought in to look at from a strategy point of view and to understand, how that business ticks, and only to find once you've designed that vision, actually, the ovens have all broken, or so they need to put that investment into something else. So then it's the people that suffer really, who are going to work. And I think, I'm a strong believer in business culture is kind of formulated, and it's strengthened by people being together, collaborating, working together. I'm not saying 5 days a week. If that works for some, it doesn't work for everybody. But you got to get that level, and I think you lose essence of the company's values, ethos, teams when you're not physically in the same place as often as potentially be.
Yeah, I'm really with you. I do know there's its whole like remote companies and tech startups, and they do really well, and they can hire people from all around the world. So their point is that they can attract and retain talent from anywhere. They've got the best team sort of thing, and the best
Generation thing as well.
I do kind of get the mindset behind it, but I think like, even in any sport, it's not about the individuals; it's about the team.
Yeah.
And like PSG have just won like Champions League in football, and it's not that they've got any stars; it's that they work together really well as a team. And I think the same in business.
Yeah.
I think it's about how you work together as a team. It's not about necessarily picking all the stars. I mean, we are very lucky to have like amazing people, but the bigger focus should be on bringing people together, bringing that communication together, bringing that to, it sounds so cliche. It's actually boring and it's overlooked, but it's so important.
And it's hard as well.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you live and you learn, and you can make decisions, or you can say things that potentially think, oh, I could have managed that better, or, you know, but we're all on a journey. And I think it's that, you know, makes you stronger, or actually makes you more mindful of your impact. I think sometimes it isn't until after the event that you realise, think, oh, okay. But, you know, you just try and be your best self, really.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you one more question.
Yeah.
You need to wrap up. We've covered it. You're self-aware. You've done loads of personal development. You've got a coach, like really strong stuff, and like something that I'd like really recommend to everybody that's listening. But what is one podcast you would recommend just like in the points of it? Or do you not read books and podcasts?
So I do. So I really like Fern Cotton's Happy Place podcast when I'm not listening to yours for really design information.
Happy Place.
Happy Place.
You would listen to that, wouldn't you? I don't even know what it's about, but Michelle would listen to Happy Place. And that's a weird recommendation.
That is good. And the book I'm reading at the moment is, it's a Brené Brown book, and it's by Brené Brown, Embracing Your Vulnerability. Something like that. So it's about vulnerability anyway. And that is incredible, actually. If you're starting to feel a bit like you're going off track a bit, and you need to understand yourself a little bit more, you know, it's actually, what it's taught me, I'm only halfway through it, is it's good to own your, own your shame. So sometimes like those silly things, like turn up to an exhibition a week early. Done that. And I was like, oh my goodness, what a stupid thing. What have I done? And I thought, when I have to get back to the office, everyone would say, oh, how was it? Why are you back so early? I thought, I'm just going to own it. Oh, well, it was a week early. I'll be going there next week. And they all kind of laughed, and, you know, I was like, oh, it was a bit silly. But, you know, in certain situations, if you're feeling a bit like shame, the best way to get over that shame factor is to talk it out, and is to own it, and then it doesn't possess you, because you. Yeah,
strong message.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, you know, if I was a junior designer now, you know, the advice I would give to myself is really, you know, to find your people, find the place, find the space where you're aligned, because it's there where you will grow and you can inspire, and you've got the right people around you. Don't sweat it if it's not working somewhere. Be brave. You'll grow equally somewhere else, probably faster, because they're, you know, more your people, or more the way that you prefer to work. Because, you know, we all unique, and we all can be successful. We're all passionate. You know, it's you know, a creative world out there. You know, I just say, just be yourself, believe in yourself. You are good enough, and don't kind of get beaten down.
I love that. That's people definitely like seriously take notes. That's a golden nugget. But no, on a serious note, thank you so much, Michelle. It's been an amazing chat. I've got about 400 more questions that I could ask you, but I think time is going to say that we have to wrap up. But thank you everyone for listening, joining in Space by Stansons again. So generous, your comments and the feedback we're getting and guest suggestions and everything. And keep following and do a review, because algorithms are fancy things. I don't know anything about them. All I know is when you like and follow, it doesn't take very long and it makes all the difference. So thank you so much. And thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. You've lovely being here.
You're welcome.